on here. So,
All right, so you
um,
ready to get started
let's get
into?
started. Do you
Uh,
know how familiar are you with these? We're gonna go down the list. How familiar are you with Star Wars? You're really familiar, right?
who, me or
You.
E3?
You.
Oh, okay, hold on.
Oh, yes.
E3 put
I
I played
completely agree.
Atmosphere once and had a blast.
Yes, I own Nightmare, and I own both Atmosphere and Nightmare, and I play them every year for Halloween. It's one of the best, and God, they're so bad.
So you're asking me how well I know these IPs. Let's see. I'm always wearing Star Wars shirts, and I have a Star Wars reskinning of Thanos Rising, so I'm
Right?
very familiar with Star Wars.
Good, good, good. Okay, I'm
Ghostbusters, huge
fairly
fan of it.
familiar. Yep, I
Except for
not.
except for the reboot, I didn't enjoy the reboot. To me, it was Bridesmaid meets Ghostbusters. And it just gross out humor for gross out humor just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah,
But I do enjoy the Ghostbusters IP. I'm looking forward to the new movie. Firefly is still one of my favorite TV shows of all time.
yeah.
Uh, it's funny. I'm not the biggest Disney fan in my family. I don't get me wrong. I enjoy Disney as much as the next person, but my wife probably trumps me when it comes to Disney.
Yeah, I feel like that's the
Uh,
same with me too.
so the next one I'm about to mention, you know how familiar I am with this one.
Universal movie
I
monsters. Yeah.
have every single Universal Monster movie digitally. So, well, not every single one, but the main ones
Yes.
digitally. I still need to buy the Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein because that movie is hilarious.
That's awesome.
Again, Star Wars, really familiar with. I'm usually the one that battles for Harry Potter stuff, so
But that'll
depending on
be
what
me
you
this week. That'll be me because I know nothing about the theme of Thanos Rising. I've never seen any of the Thanos or Avengers movies.
I thought you just saw like the first Infinity War and that was it. You didn't, or no, your wife did.
My wife did, and she's seen all of the Infinity War movies. I haven't seen one. I
Okay,
was the guy who asked, "Hey, how did it end?"
that's
Just to
true.
make people
So,
uncomfortable.
so
So,
this bracket itself, I am super familiar with. I
okay,
know every single one of these IPs, and I'm very. And let's see, next week's. I already got next week's brackets written up, and there is one game on here that I'm only slightly familiar with, the IP, and that's only because it's based off a novel, and I'm barely on the third book of said novel series.
oh, okay, that works. So then, let me ask you one last thing. What are the five categories that we're judging these by?
So the five categories that we broke this down with is we have it under the IP to the theme. So how does the intellectual property and theme fill? So does the theme of the game bring out the intellectual property?
Okay,
Meaningful choices. Do you make meaningful choices, or is the game driving you?
okay,
Art and production, that's very important, especially when it comes to IPs. Do they use their new artwork, or do they do skinning, basically?
yeah. Do they
Where
do
they screen
screenshots?
caps, yeah,
Yeah,
screenshots and stuff like that. How's the production value of like the boards, the chits, the pieces in the game? All those go together. Replayability, how likely are you to get it back to the table? How likely are you going to want to play it again? And ease of play. Is it a very difficult game to get into and it's going to take a little while for you to learn the nuances? Or is it something you can jump in and play with your family right then and there after reading the rules?
all right.
And the tiebreaker, as always, is People's Choice, which is on Board Game Revolution on Facebook. So there is still time to vote if you want to vote. I3, if you want to vote for the champion when we get to it, if it needed a tiebreaker, we will count your vote as well.
Yep,
Or anybody in the chat for that matter.
yep. The only vote we won't count is our own because we're not going to be
Yep.
doing that.
And there's a reason why when we put these polls up, you won't see our choices on there. We're not trying to skew the results. It's strictly what the people want while we
Yep.
debate
Yeah.
the brackets.
Exactly. So let us begin. Our number 1 seed versus our number 8 seed. That is
For one,
X-Wing, Star Wars
X-Wing
X-Wing
versus
miniatures
Ghostbusters, the board game.
versus Ghostbusters board game. Which one would you like? I am more familiar with X-Wing.
I will let you have X-Wing. You tend to be more familiar with it. I've only played it like a couple times.
Yeah.
I'll go with Ghostbusters, the board game, and this is going to be hard for me. As much as I enjoy the Ghostbusters IP, I actually owned and sold this game because of one of the detractors for it, which you will probably bring up when you're arguing against it.
Well, maybe. I don't know. We'll find out. So, first off, as a pro for X-Wing, this is our quarterfinals, by the way. Round one, the pro for X-Wing. The reason why it is ranked number one in the number one seed is because it's a legitimately good strategy game. What it did is it took the foundation that a lot of strategy war game miniatures fans took, and it turned it into a simple and palatable system. What you do on your turn is you have one of your fighter systems. It could be as few as one ship or as many as quite a bit, as long as the battling is set up properly. And it's completely interchangeable. Any piece works with any piece, more or less. You set up what you're planning on doing, whether it's movement or what action, attack, etc. You have cardboard pieces that are the exact measurement. So you don't have to sit there and measure. Like back in the day with miniature games, you used to have to take a tape measure and go, all right, I'm moving 6 centimeters, I'll go this way. No, you put the piece in front of it, then you move the piece to the front of that cardboard, and there you go, you moved. Okay?
And the thing about it isn't necessarily a straight line. They had different pieces where you can make a turn.
Yep.
And it all depended upon your ship as well, how
maneuverable
of your ship was.
Yep, exactly. So it really took that like fleet war thing in space, and it took it really well. Also, every one of the characters, every one of the ships is familiar with like their style. Obviously, an X-Wing is going to have way more maneuverability than like a battle station or a Star Destroyer. That's going to take forever to move, and it's going to chug along, but it's going to take a lot more defense and a lot harder hits to take it down. It's really close to the theme. You have a really good strategic, meaningful choices. The production value, the miniatures are actually really neat, and they're solid too.
Especially for painted minis and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're pre-painted minis, and they're not expensive either. And yeah, I've seen everybody play all the different scenarios, and ease of play, it's really not hard to play. So, I mean, it's $60 on all of them.
For X-Wing, you're saying the minis aren't that expensive. That is true.
To a degree, right?
To a degree. But if you're kind of want to constantly grow and do more games, especially since they just rebooted it recently, and it's like, really? You have to pay. So, like, if I want the Millennium Falcon, I got to pay for that. If I want the X-Wing, I need to pay for that. The Y-Wing, the U-Wing. And so it can get expensive really quickly. And there's a lot of people who are completionists that need to have everything. And to that extent, I understand. But that's my issue, why I didn't get into it. I enjoyed it for what it was. I'm not a huge tactical mini kind of guy, but I did enjoy it for what it was, especially because of the theme on it. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so when someone said, hey, you're going to get the space dogfight that you get in Star Wars,
right?
I'm like, I'm in. Let me try this out. But just the cost, especially with board games, they're not real cheap as it is. You can catch them on deals every now and then, but a brand new game averages about $60 to $70. In X-Wing,
the base set is 30 or 40.
That kind of money for 3 ships.
Yeah.
And especially if those ships become rare on the resale market, it just becomes ridiculous for people.
Sure.
So when you get to like the ease of play or the replayability, yeah, they're there, but it comes down to the same reason I have issues with, like, say, Magic the Gathering, where it becomes how much you pay for something is going to equate to better play.
Yeah, it can be, depending on if like you're playing competitively. But really, I mean, there's a lot of game in just the base box alone.
Oh, yeah,
and the thing is, you don't have to buy the miniatures. I mean, you probably will, right? But realistically, collecting that is not unreasonable. I mean, the miniatures were like $5-10. They weren't bad for the small ships. So expanding more, it is good.
My hard argument for Ghostbusters.
Okay, go for it.
Ghostbusters IP itself, and it's interesting about it, it is based off the movie, but the game is actually based off more of the cartoon of the 80s, the real Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
So, which is weird because the sequel to this is based off the second movie. So some of the creatures and stuff that you're fighting are actually based off the cartoon in it. And there's a campaign in it. You go, I think it's like a 10-thing campaign. Really beautiful minis.
The Stay Puft. He's
the Stay Puft Marshmallow is gorgeous.
the
The
car.
game, the car. Yeah, the car was nice. I
Oh,
think the car though was part of the Kickstarter exclusive
yeah, I think so.
because the base game is just a little cardboard car
Yeah,
that moves around the board.
but even like the Slimers were like translucent
Yeah,
green
the ghosts were
pieces.
really translucent in different colors. So you had your
Yeah,
red ones, your blue ones, your Slimers, which were green. Your character minis look like the characters from the cartoon.
yeah,
The box, and all of it was really nicely done, and the game was fun. However, and this is the con for this, and why it's the A seed, is that the game played exactly the same from game 1 to game 10. You
yep,
do this, you kill so many ghosts, and if you don't, you die,
yep,
or the game over, and you have to restart the round and stuff like
yep. You
that.
had the timer.
Yeah,
That's all it
and
was.
so it just, as you're going along, and this was my big issue with it, and I enjoyed the mess out of it when I first got it, but after playing through a couple games, and this comes to the replayability, it's nothing changes. Nothing. If it's like, say, the big thing is that they were hyping it as campaign. If the campaign is exactly the same game all the way through,
Right.
and nothing changes, it doesn't feel like a campaign to me. It's just like I played this scenario, now I played this scenario, now I played this scenario.
Yeah.
Did exactly the same thing.
It was
Nothing
basically
changed.
like you got an upgrade to like, oh well, I beat these monsters pretty easy, so I'm gonna do some monsters that are a little harder.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it does fit the theme-wise when you're trying to trap the ghost and trying to put them in storage and get rid of them. And if you get enough, they go away, but then they respawn.
Right.
And it's fun. It gives you that tension. It's a little more luck-based than I would have liked, especially when I got into gaming. I didn't mind luck. As I get further along into gaming, I like the luck to be mitigated some. I don't
Sure.
mind games that can be lucky, but I like to be able to mitigate it at times.
Yeah.
And this one, it was same game all the way through, same amount of luck all the way through. There's no mitigation. Your characters do increase in power and get better abilities and stuff like that, but it's not enough to really, for me, unfortunately. I will have to vote X-Wing. As much as I love Ghostbusters, the
Yeah.
IP, X-Wing just fits its theme so much better. You get that, oh, I'm having a dogfight in this game.
Well, I mean, the way that they've had the variables with all the different ships and the starter packs, as well as that, you could actually, like, if one player had the Star Destroyer and was moving it on along the table, and everybody else was ganging up against it, you like that feels more of a scenario in a campaign game than Ghostbusters did. And it
Yeah.
wasn't a campaign game. You just
Yeah,
you
exactly.
could do it. You could act
Things
out.
felt different as you were playing it.
Yeah.
It didn't feel the same thing. And then with the Ghostbusters, the board game, everything you got in the box, that was all you're getting. They didn't really do an expansion. They just did a second game.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was disappointed with the Ghostbusters game, and I think I might be mistaken, but either you or another mutual friend of ours got a copy of Ghostbusters, and the pieces were broken. Like some of the miniatures had
It might
like
have been a mutual. All my pieces were fine.
okay,
But
or I might get it mistaken with another game, but it was
I think
another
you're getting a mistake with the game because I know the
The-
other person who got
the
it.
shop
theirs
version.
some were bent. The shop was one that.
Yeah, there was numerous pieces that were broken, and there was no damage to the box. Like the miniatures were just not designed to hold that weight, and
Yeah.
like the base was broken off of the legs or something like that. It was depressing. So I mean, like even if we went production value, if that was the tie, I would have to say at least it's a tie because even though the pieces are better in Ghostbusters, they were flimsier. And I've
Honestly,
never
I
had a
would have
broken.
given the production value to X-Wing just for the fact that the Ghostbusters, yeah, they're translucent. X-Wing's pre-painted.
That's true. The details that were on a lot of the ships were really remarkable, considering that they
Yeah.
were mass produced. So, awesome. So that gives it
so-
to X-Wing.
Just so everybody knows, I have an early favorite in this one. Danny knows which one it is, and I haven't even told him. He just knows which one it
Yep.
is.
I'm sure I do. So,
And I kind of know what Danny's early favorite is. And
yeah. But I'm
it's
gonna.
probably coming up soon.
It's coming up right now, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
So, yes. Okay. All right. Let's do it. Let's go into round
This
two.
is actually, again, we talked about it last time.
Right.
Number 3 and 6 matchups are some of the worst matchups because they're both games we both really,
Yes.
really like.
Yes. It's hard because the first one. So round two, it is Firefly versus Disney Villainous. Um, oh man, this is hurt. This is gonna
I
hurt me.
will let you have Firefly because you know that one a lot better than I do. I've
I
only
do.
played it a handful of times.
I do.
Villainous, I own everything for it at this point in time.
This is gonna be. You know how last round you had that internal fight, the internal
Yeah.
struggle. This is me, because Firefly and Villainous hit on both two very good layers. I know it. First, I didn't like Villainous. It took me 3 games of Villainous to play before I started to enjoy it. But Firefly was one of those games. Yeah, you're taking out Disney Villainous. I would go get my Firefly, but it is signed by Alan Tudyk and it is on display right now on one of my entertainment centers. So, Firefly was the first game that I played that got me into the IP. So, I want that to be very clear that some people say it's not as thematic as it is. Here's the thing. Firefly, I gave it a chance, the show, because I played the game and the game was so solid. Since then, Firefly is one of my favorite IPs of all time. It is awesome. I adore Firefly. It's so good. You even have Prepare to Misbehave shirts, like, with Serenity on it. Like, it's awesome. Move over that way.
One second, I gotta pick something up.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. But the thing is, Villainous hits on all of those levels below me that, like, this is going to be hard for me to debate, but I will take Firefly. Let's go ahead and begin with Firefly. First off, Firefly is so solid to the game.
Am I good? Right here?
Yep. Yeah, you're perfect. Firefly is so solid of a game. It's a pick up and deliver game, and there's a lot of people that you can become solid with. You pick up, you go to certain planets, you make deals, and then you bring items or do certain things or misbehave or whatever you need to do to complete that task to become solid with that character. Your goal is to become solid with certain characters, which the game actually includes multiple scenarios of how you can play it. Once again, I mean, the production value in that, Gale Force 9 does an amazing job with their production value. The miniatures are really fantastic pieces. Everything is thematic to the style. All of the money, even though it's paper money, it looks fantastic. It's really well printed. All of the pieces are fantastic. All of the cards are really thematic. And it just looks really good. It does use screen caps, I'll give you that. But the graphic design on that is really just top notch. That, and on top of that, it's making me enjoy a pick up and deliver game. I think it's a really great game. Now, one thing that I'll say, do you want to do your rebuttal real quick?
My issue with it is, and not a lot of people feel this way. I like pick up and deliver games.
Sure.
This one it gets a little long in the tooth after a while.
Sure.
And my big issue is, as good as it is, it doesn't bring out the theme like it would for you. And that's probably because I was a Firefly fan before I got into the game. And so when you're going into it, yeah, you got your aim to misbehave and all this and that. The only issue with it is, if I put another skin on it, it's still a solid pick up and deliver game. It's not a solid Firefly game anymore.
That's true. Those scenes.
If I put a Mad Max theme on that, it's still going to be a solid pick up and deliver. It's just going to be Mad Max rather than...
Right. Yeah, you don't get the flavor of Firefly from, like... You get one part of it. You get the traveling around, battling the Reavers, staying away from the Alliance, or sometimes embracing them, sometimes they help you out. But really, the goal of the game, if you're looking for, like, the scenes where it's like the Old West scene, like of one of the first episodes, where like they're in a gunfight, you're not going to get that there. It's only happening in space.
And
but
see, for me, the reason
considering
why
that,
I loved Firefly so much is because it gave me sci-fi, which is one of my favorite genres, and westerns, which is something that I've really loved and enjoy because of growing up with my dad. He was a huge western fan, and it gave me that combination.
Right.
So it was like, I get my western and I get my sci-fi, and it's all rolled into one.
Right.
And this game doesn't give me the western feel; it just gives me the space feel.
Yeah. Yep, and that's all it really is. Yeah, I'll give you that. That's very true. It is a pick up and deliver game at most. But a game coming up later is the same thing. So keep that in mind. And I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So, Villainous.
So, Disney Villainous. The reason, I'm just going to start out with a few things. about it before I even get into how it makes the theme come out.
Okay.
The art and production of this game is top notch. My thing is, when they announced the most recent expansion and they said Pete from Steamboat Willie is going to be one of the villains, I'm like, how is that going to work? That's a black and white cartoon. And then I got it, and I looked at the cards online, and when you look at them online, it doesn't really do it justice once you see them. The artwork on this game is just phenomenal.
Here, hold it in front of your face more. There you go. Yeah.
They could have screen capped that, and it would have been fine. But because it's a cartoon, that's such an easy. No, they hand drew these or had an artist render all of these. These aren't really screen capped artworks.
Yeah.
So the art and production on this, and this is just Pete. The Tangled one is really nice. They make it look like it's CGI. If it's hand drawn cartoon stuff, the artwork on it makes it look hand drawn cartoon. If it's a CGI, the artwork looks CGI, like it's computer generated, but you can tell it's not screen caps. It's something that they created for the game. And another thing is, as simple as this game is when it comes to it's action selection at its heart. You move your piece. Anybody who's familiar with Scythe, you move your piece, you get to do what's going on there. Some people get to mess with you depending on what they're doing and cover up some of your spots so your spaces aren't so powerful. But the pieces for the selection are just phenomenal. Gorilla DeVille
I knew you'd
with spots.
Yep. Because you have the special version, yeah.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, by the way. It's still sold out there. I still haven't found it for sale.
You can't find it, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. It's one of the few games on this list. Everybody knows the IP, but if Disney will sell in mass market stores, and is one of the things that made you realize, hey, Target is selling really good games.
Yeah.
And again, we've talked about them before. Prospero Hall.
Yeah. Thanks to Prospero Hall. Yeah.
Yeah. And to me, this is one of the better games that have recently come out. It goes down with everybody. And it's asymmetric. I'm not a huge fan of asymmetric games. I like variability, but this one is, I have my own goal that I'm trying to get while making sure other people at the table don't reach their goal.
Right.
And to me, that hits a spot like I never knew I needed.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it brings out a lot going for it. My counter argument to it, with a Disney theme, you expect it to be kid friendly, and really for even adults like normal gamers, this is not the easiest game to pick up. Like, I mean, the learning curve is there. It's pretty steep. I know it took me at least 3 times before I was comfortable saying, okay, I do understand how this works, and that's because every character is very different on how they work, and since it's competitive, you're not trying to help your opponent. So the only time I've ever seen it work well is when I was demoing it for a group of 3 people, and I was bouncing between them saying, I would suggest to do this, I would do this probably, this is why this would work here, and I was helping each of them individually, because if you didn't have that, and if you were learning it for the first time competitively like I did, it goes over your head, and I think that's a really big counter argument.
It is very difficult, and I won't disagree. But going up against Firefly, that's pretty much the same thing. The ease of play on that one is
but you expect Firefly to be more. With the components, I think for the amount of game that you're expecting versus the amount of learning that you have to do, I think Firefly wins it on that part. Now, replayability.
Yeah, I can get Firefly to the table. Out of, say, 10 times, I could probably get it maybe once or twice if people have that itch.
Yeah.
Villainous, I just show, hey, I got the new expansion for Villainous. Everybody wants to play.
Yep. You have 3 more games right there because I want to try every character. Yep.
Yeah.
Art and production, I think that would be like a wash because they're both
really good.
solid.
I would give it to Villainous just for the simple fact that, again,
Yeah.
On the
I,
art side,
I
because they could have screen capped it, but they decided to do actual artwork for it.
Sure. No, the only reason I say that it's a tie is because I do agree.
The
Like the
production,
production in that, the graphic
Firefly.
design, all the pieces, everything's so perfect. Like it's really
No,
solid on
yeah, I agree
Firefly.
with the wash. I say I would
So
give it to Villainous on
yeah,
the art side, production side. I mean, most of this game is some cardboard, some cards, and
yeah,
those plastic standees.
yeah. And then meaningful choices, that would be villainous because
Yeah,
everything you do does function with
yeah.
that.
This
But
one has to
matching the
go into our
theme,
tiebreakers.
matching theme. No, I think it's going to go to villainous because every character works like their character is
Character
supposed to,
in the
and they have
yeah,
15 characters right now. Oh, like
yeah.
I think we
It's,
have to give it to villainous as much as I like Firefly.
my vote would have been Villainous, even before we got to the tiebreaker, just
Yeah.
because if we go into our tiebreaker choices, other than ease of play and A&P, where they're both pretty much the same, meaningful choices,
Yeah.
the theme into it, and the replayability, just
Yep.
gives it to Villainous.
Okay. So round number 3.
Also, just to let everybody know, most of you probably already know, what is it? Marvel Villainous is going to be popping off later this year.
Yeah, I
Will
heard
not
about that.
be able to play with Disney Villainous, which makes me sad.
Yeah, it's not compatible. It's probably they probably reskinned some of it,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is
so,
unfortunate. But oh well.
So we got the 1 seed and the 6 seed moving on.
Yep.
So
All right.
our next one this is another tough bracket for me
Yep.
personally. You know which one my favorite out of this group is and what I want to argue. Can you guess which one it is, actually?
I know how much you like Horrified, but I know how much Outer Rim is like one of your like favorite theme story wise. Like, it's a solid
Yeah.
game. All right, which I will let you pick. You're familiar with both of them better than I.
Which one would you feel like you can make a better argument with for?
Horrified.
And then I'll let you go ahead and have Horrified, and I'll take Star Wars Outer Rim, because I can make a decent argument out of it.
Okay, sounds good.
And I'll go ahead and start us out with Star Wars Outer Rim. And the reason why I think it's such a good game is we just talked about a pick up and deliver in Firefly. Star Wars Outer Rim fits that type of game better than Firefly does when it comes to that pick up and deliver ability, because even though it's a pick up and deliver game, you can play as a bounty hunter and collect bounties. You can play as Boba Fett or Thrask. What is his name? He's the Trastorian, so Bosk. That's his name, Bosk.
Bosk.
You can play as him. You can play as Lando Calrissian. I believe Han Solo's in there too. I've only played it once, and I enjoyed the mess out of it. And the reason it being is because I get that Star Wars feel, because you're fighting with the Imperials, you're fighting with the Rebel Alliance to make sure you can get your job done.
Yeah.
You're on, literally, it says it here, the Outer Rim, where you're not really in Empire space. You're the mercenaries. You don't necessarily have to be a bounty hunter. You can be help the Rebel Alliance by picking up resources that they need to do and taking it to them, for they can use it to go against the Empire. And there's 3 factions in this game. You have basically the smugglers, I guess you can call them. I can't remember which. I think it's the Crimson Dawn or something like that.
Okay.
You have the Hutts, and then you have the Empire, the Hutts, and the Rebel Alliance. The Hutts are basically the people outside of the group.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the Rebel Alliance, who are fighting the Empire. So if you're really, really good with the Rebel Alliance, you're really, really bad with the Empire. You go up on one track and down another track. So it gives me that thematic feel, because I'm like, oh, I'm helping the Rebels. Well, the Empire, of course, is going to hate me because I'm helping someone try to usurp them. So in theme-wise, thematically, it goes through. And it's a fantasy flight game. So the production value on it, as
It's
for
okay.
Fantasy Flight, not some of their best production, because
but it's
when you
good.
get to them, you're used to like minis and stuff like that, and this one is just little cardboard standees. But it's still, the art in it is gorgeous.
Now, so I've played Overrun, or Outer Rim once. I don't know. I said Overrun. Outer Rim once, and I'll be honest, I didn't like the game. It was okay. I liked it just fine, but it wasn't exciting to me. You know more about the extended universe. So, in your opinion, how well does this match the idea of the extended universe?
So here's the thing with the extended universe: the EU is no longer in effect. So it doesn't really match. It actually follows the Disney timeline more than it actually follows the extended universe. It actually uses characters that we know in the extended universe, but are canon. So it does follow Disney's quantifications of what is important in this game, but it fits it because you have the Hutts, who are the gangsters. You have the Rebel Alliance, who are fighting the Empire. These are the main factions that you can get with. Some of the characters tend to be a little bit outliers, like IG-88 and Bosk, as I was saying. They only showed up a little bit in the movies, but when you get into some of the TV shows and the books that Disney's coming out with, some of them are there, some of them aren't. The TV show The Mandalorian had a character or a droid that was exactly like IG-88.
Okay.
So, so the IG-88 is an assassin droid, as was that character in The Mandalorian. So these things that are showing up in here in the game, the people, the races, all of them are fitting exactly into this theme.
But does it feel like it's something from...
To me, just pick up and deliver feels like I'm doing stuff in the Star Wars universe, whereas Firefly just makes me feel like, oh, I'm going to pick that up and go take it to that faction over there.
Well, thankfully we're not debating between the two, because then we'd get in a fist fight over it.
No, I'm just saying, for wise, the thematic wise, it does give me that feel. Especially when you look at the fact that you can play Boba Fett. You don't even have to help the Rebel Alliance, the Empire, or the Hutts. You could just go pick up bounties, find the guy you need, and take him where he needs to go.
Yep.
And just be strictly a bounty hunter in that game.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, then I'm going to argue, I just didn't like the game that much. I thought there was times where I got cards or situations that were just like you had to fulfill an order that was like 2 planets away. I had to go across the entire universe. The
thing is, that's a con against it. It's a very lucky game. Again, if you played any Fantasy Flight game or Ameritrash game, there's a lot of luck involved.
You understand
this one tends to be a little bit more mitigated than others, but there is going to be issues like you had, where you had to go clear across to the other side to get what you need, and then you ended up running in trouble and fighting with factions you didn't want to. So yeah, I can understand that.
Okay, cool. So Horrified, phenomenal game. First off, it's cooperative, so you're working together. You are battling against the Universal movie monsters. So you have Dracula, Wolfman, Creature from the Black Lagoon, the Mummy, Frankenstein and the Bride of Frankenstein, and the Invisible Man.
Frankenstein's monster in the Bride of Frankenstein.
Frankenstein's monster and the Bride of Frankenstein. Yeah.
Get it right.
Yep. You're right. My apologies, sir. But those are the 6 different monsters that you're going to be trying to save the town against.
Actually, there's 7 in there. You fight against.
Technically, with the Bride of Frankenstein.
The Bride of Frankenstein and the Monster of Frankenstein work together.
Yeah, exactly. So, this game is it's a very simple game. It's a cooperative game. You're trying to get certain items to defeat certain monsters depending on their style. But man, that's where the genericness stops. I'm not the biggest Universal movie monster fan. I do like them, but I'm not the biggest one. But oh my god, does this ooze with theme, because every one of those monsters is completely different on how they work. So for example, the Invisible Man, you have to go and prove that he's stealing from places, so you have to provide evidence from 5 different locations. Frankenstein.
So when it comes to the Invisible Man, it's not that he's stealing; he's committing crime in those places, and you're trying to provide evidence.
Oh, okay. You're trying to provide evidence, that he exists, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to get items from those different locations. Dracula, you have to go to the 4 different crypts or the 4 different coffins and destroy them, so that way he doesn't have any place to lodge. Then you have
heal, basically.
What's that?
To heal.
Yeah, exactly. To heal, exactly. And then you have Frankenstein and the Bride, or Frankenstein's monster and the Bride, and you have to make them human and then have them go to the same spot and meet. And then I can keep going, but I'm just going to stop there, because each one of those is so awesomely thematic, and it gives you a cool little puzzle that you have to solve for each one. It's a very simple game to pick up. The production is really well made, considering it's not miniatures.
It's a mass-produced game.
Yep, it's a mass-produced game, but the pieces are fine. They're standees. The art is good.
Beautiful.
Everything matches it. It even has, as soon as you open the box, it gives a warning. It's like the classic monster movie film. It's like, be warned. You have been warned before you enter this game. you know what you're going to encounter. And it's so hammy, but they play off of that. Like, they don't
And the
joke
thing
about
is,
it.
too,
But
like, every single one of the characters in there are in the movies, except for one. They're actually in a different movie, and why I want to pick it up. So when you have the Wilbur and Frisk,
yeah.
or Fisk, or whatever they're actually Abbott and Costello meet the Frankenstein.
Is it really? I didn't realize
Monster?
that's what it was. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's
So,
that actual movie. So
yeah.
that's the one I need to pick up.
And
But
it's a simple game. It's easy to learn how to play, and it's a very meaningful game. And all you have to do to change difficulty is whether you fight 2, 3, or 4 monsters. That's it.
So for me personally, as much as I like Outer Rim, my vote will be Horrified, and it's for the simple fact, even if it was tied in all of these other choices like IP, theme, meaningful choices, art and production, and replayability, the ease of play compared to the two is by far it's going to be Horrified. And that it's just that simple. I can play this with your 10-year-old. I cannot play Outer Rim with your 10-year-old, and your 10-year-old's smart.
Yeah, no, he would be able to play Outer Rim and probably do better than me because of random chance.
And another thing too is Horrified plays in such a shorter time. Again, same issue when it came to Firefly, the board game, the pick of that one.
It's just too long.
Star Wars Outer Rim tends to outstay its welcome.
Sure, yeah, I get that. I understand that. All right, then that gives it to Horrified. So right now we have X-Wing, Villainous, and Horrified, and now into our final round of the quarterfinals, Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle.
Harry Potter, huh?
Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle versus Thanos Rising. Now, the theme doesn't matter to me at all. You go ahead and pick whichever one you want to argue for. I'm going to argue mechanisms alone.
This one's kind of tough. I know both games. I'm going to go ahead and let you take Thanos Rising because I have a good counter for it. So I'll take Hogwarts Battle.
Okay.
And the reason why I think Hogwarts Battle needs to move on to face Horrified is the game itself is great. I like the fact that as a campaign-style game, especially for people who don't know how to play deck builders, it teaches you and then ramps it up as you play along.
Sure.
There are flaws with it. There are issues with it. I'm not going to lie. But for me, I have more fun playing that game than I do Thanos Rising because at least there's a possibility I can win. I've beaten Thanos Rising once.
Well, I mean...
and that's on easy mode.
I've beaten it more than once.
I beat Thanos Rising once, and then with Hogwarts Battle, as you put it, you would rather play the
Toy Story
game.
Sure.
Because you like that theme better.
Yeah.
For me, I'd rather play Darkseid Rising than Thanos Rising because I like that theme better.
Sure.
And that's my big thing about is Thanos Rising. I'd rather play that, or I'd rather play Darkseid Rising rather than Thanos Rising. And because it's the exact same game, just a better theme on it. And that with Hogwarts Battle, you're getting the feel of the movies. You're getting, it's screen caps. You're
not really though. I mean, like if you're talking as far as does the gameplay match the movies, deck building doesn't match the movies.
Okay, so you want to argue this, right?
Yes.
Have you watched the movies?
No, but I know that they don't.
Have you watched the movies of Thanos Rising?
I know they don't go through buy spells, and use them once every time you shuffle your deck.
The thing is, you're saying you're going through and buying spells in the deck building. Yes, but you're also it's called Hogwarts Battle. You're in the school. You're learning spells as you go along. So you're learning spells as you go through along the year.
Buying spells in the game.
Actually, yes, you're buying spells, but it's not called money in the game.
Okay.
It's called knowledge, or
right.
It's called something else. So you're using that to get yourself better and helping you get allies and stuff like that. So yeah, you're doing that. But thematic-wise, especially the people you're fighting in the game, it's fit with it. Maybe not so much in the later rounds when you're still fighting the young Crab and Goyle, but...
Here's why I'm going to argue for Thanos Rising as far as the mechanisms go. Let's just talk, like, matching theme to that. They're both very not thematic, as proven that you can re-theme them multiple ways, right? But if you think of the core idea of a deck builder, you are acquiring cards to reuse periodically later on in combination with each other. That doesn't really say spellcaster. Now, I mean, granted, I'm not saying Thanos Rising is super thematic either. But if I have Captain America and if I have, Iron Man, as my two characters, they're going to provide me those dice every turn, and they're all well rounded, but they have the area of focus. So every turn that I'm rolling, fighting against Thanos, what I roll makes sense to what characters I have and what I'm trying to go after. Whereas the deck that I'm building is just like, all right, whatever cards I happen to acquire, what's the best I can tactically use this situation the best. I think that just barely the dice mechanism in Thanos Rising irks out the deck building in Hogwarts Battle. Personally.
And you want to know why I say no to this?
I do. That's the point of a debate.
Because the deck building part of it, you're putting, and you know what's going into your deck.
Yes.
So you can make yourself a really strong character, and I have done this, especially when I was playing Hogwarts Battle, as we went through the campaign. There's a part of it where my character learns an ability, and then he could become proficient in a different ability. So I start building my deck as we're playing to enhance those abilities.
Sure.
In Thanos Rising, you're stuck to the luck of the roll.
Yes, but...
And that's the thing, is that I can mitigate that luck in Hogwarts Battle mechanism-wise. In Thanos Rising, I can't mitigate that luck other than maybe getting one more reroll. Doesn't necessarily mean I get that one piece that I need.
But that gives you more odds, though. So I think it's like it's probably a tie, realistically, because there's a chance that I might not draw that card. If I have a deck of like 60 cards already, because I've built it up and I bought everything in a half, then one spell isn't going to show up in forever. But every turn I'm rolling those dice. Huh? You might. I've had a huge deck in Hogwarts Battle.
I know, because I make sure I streamline my deck how I need it to be.
Sure, yeah, but what I'm saying is that, like, you're saying that you definitely get those. Yes, but you definitely get the dice that you get from the heroes. So the results are different. So it's like it's kind of like half and half, right? The rolling and the drawing.
Darkseid Rising and Thanos Rising. I have completed the entire Hogwarts Battle game. Thanos Rising, I've only beaten once on easy mode, where you only have to defeat 7 characters before Thanos kills 10 of yours.
Yes.
Whereas in hard mode in that game, it's 10 to 10.
10 and 10, yeah.
Oh, actually, sorry, that's normal mode in there. Hard mode is you have to defeat all the villains in the deck before Thanos beats 10 heroes.
I think that goes more towards ease of play, though. But I'm just saying that the mitigation of luck is easier to do in Hogwarts Battle than it is in Thanos Rising, because when it comes down to it, you will get your cards that you've put in that deck to help you. If not this round, the next round. Okay. I can roll exactly the same thing each time I go, and the odds aren't likely, but I can still roll things I don't need rather than things I do need. Sure. Okay. Then let's break it down to the breakdown bracket here. Matching theme. Which one matches the theme better? This is all on you.
Honestly, again, I say the and not because I was arguing, or even if I was arguing against it, I would say Hogwarts Battle matches the theme better. Yes, when it comes to deck building, you're still buying it. You're still learning your spell cards as you're going through. You're still gathering allies that help you through. Okay. You're fighting the creatures and stuff like that. And this one, it's all dice rolls. And you can lose in Thanos Rising while still doing really, really good in the game because of the bad dice. The one that moves Thanos, where he hits everybody, and that doesn't really
I assumed
it's a dice roll.
Yeah, I assumed it was going to be Harry Potter. Just if nothing else, Thanos Rising is just a tower defense thing. You're fighting the tower, whereas Hogwarts Battle, it's introducing new characters and new spells and new abilities every movie. So I get that. Okay, we'll give that to Harry Potter. Meaningful choices.
This to me is a push, because your meaningful choice in Thanos Rising is you're trying to collect either. I can't even. I haven't played Thanos Rising in such a long time. I'm just gonna go off Darkseid Rising because it's the same game, just different theme. Yeah. This one you're trying to buy certain vehicles, and I think that one is like locations or something like that. Right. Or you're trying to get certain characters to add to your team to give you dice, re-rolls, and stuff like that. Yeah. And so the meaningful choices in Harry Potter, you're buying spells and allies.
Yeah, they're ultimately the same thing. Yeah, so like either way, you're getting something that's definite, whether what kind of dice you roll or what cards you buy. But then the random is what you roll versus what you draw. They're ultimately the same thing.
Next two,
art and production, replayability.
I I'm gonna have to give. So art production, I'm gonna have to give flat out to Thanos Rising.
Yeah, yeah. The pieces
For
are better.
one thing,
The Thanos piece is beautiful.
I think there's a bit of a screen cap. It might be artwork. I don't remember. It's actual artwork in Darkseid Rising. I don't know if it is in Thanos Rising. It's been
Thanos
that long
Rising
since I busted it out.
has original artwork, but some of the characters they couldn't use the likeness of the actors, so it's like
Yeah.
kind of blacked out. But
Yeah.
it's it's original artwork.
Art production, I'll give to Thanos Rising just for
Okay.
the fact that you have one giant clunky piece of plastic that all it does in the entire game is turn.
Yeah.
But it's screen
Replayability
caps for Harry Potter.
is Harry Potter. Replayability.
But see, here's where I say it would
The
actually be a
unlocking.
push. And it would be a wash between the two. Because you can instantly set up Thanos Rising and play it again.
Yeah.
It's a quick, simple setup. Just shuffle the cards, put them out there, you can restart the game. In Harry Potter, same thing. You can set up the cards, play again. It's the only difference is that it has a campaign. But I mean, if you're just going about the replayability and accessibility for the replayability, both games are really easy to do.
Yeah, they're both easy, but I think the real replayability actually has to go to Harry Potter because of it's a
me
minimum
personally,
7
I
different
think
games.
it's a wash, and the reason why is because ease of play, I say, goes to Harry Potter in this aspect, because one is teaching you how to play a deck builder. So if you're just doing the first chapter, it's your basic how you play a deck builder and how to go through it.
Yeah, they're both incredibly easy, but a deck builder is it's actually simpler than rolling dice.
It really is.
I couldn't believe it. Yeah, no, we got to move on Harry Potter.
I agree.
All right.
And for once, Harry Potter's been in like 3 of these.
I know it's getting annoying. We need to pick themes or mechanisms or whatever that don't match Harry Potter.
And what's funny about it is, as we're talking about Thanos Rising and Darkseid Rising, there's a Harry Potter version of that game.
Yeah,
Death
Eater's Rising. So if we put out the same theme, which one matched the theme more? It'd be the deck builder. Like, I mean, the deck builder made more sense
than
than
the 2 games that
Yeah.
matched.
Yeah, that's and then they haven't made a Hogwarts battle for Marvel yet.
Yet. I mean, the op does have the.
They have both licenses. They're from the same company, so. All right, that's it for our quarterfinals. X-Wing and Villainous came out on